Hi, I'm Jake from TradeLab.ai, and today we're going to be talking about the weekly updates for the middle of August. So we're getting closer to September 1st. That's going to be the date that we open up subscriptions and go live. So with the subscriptions coming up, everyone who doesn't have a subscription will be moved to the free plan automatically. Unlike new users, anybody who has a beta role, not beta role, anybody who has an account already during beta will all automatically get their exchange lumped in, and they'll be able to use their exchange without doing like a referral or anything like that. New users, when they come in, they'll be prompted to sign up and be given our referral code to sign up for a new exchange um, for free users, right? So yeah, I wanted to announce that real quick. That's going to be coming here soon. When we release the updates that I'm releasing here, it'll come with some little updates and announcements here on the website to sort of let everybody know that is coming. So there's that. Let's take a look at a couple other things here. So been working on the builder, been working on a new log system. And as I was going through the builder and sort of imagining what it's going to become, I decided to sort of try out something different. So this is the old builder that we have. And we have an example on the testnet right now. If you go to testnet.tradelab.ai, we can go into the testnet, edit something, and it'll give us this blue bar at the top. And if we click on the blue bar, it'll bring us to the new builder. So this is what the new builder looks like. You have the sidebar, you have the rules, you can click on each field, it'll open up, that sort of thing. Now, I wanted to add sort of more to this, but not make it overwhelming, and be able to sort of see what you want when you want. We do have a file bar up here where you can do options and stuff, so I can put different layouts and stuff. We already have sort of kind of layouts for rules right here. But the idea is that I wanted to give you more room. So one thing I want to add is a log system, and I wanted to be able to see the logs while I'm seeing the rules. So let's go back. This is what I implemented. So it's the same thing, but now you'll see that we have some tabs going on, some sidebar action. So we can still move this. We can also do this here. So now we have the logs down below. I haven't populated that yet, but I just got this going. And so the interesting thing, though, is that we can grab this and pull it out. And we can drag it wherever we want, use it however we want. And then when we're, if we want to add something, we can drag it back, sort of like you might be used to with other stuff. So I can put it back in there, or if I wanted to say put it over here, I can stick it on the left side. So now we have this over here. And so this is, similar functionality to other applications that you've seen. But the idea here is that it'll allow me to expand this and sort of give you a whole bunch of different options, and allow you, imagine having the TradingView chart in here, right? And then being able to swap back and forth between your rules or your chart, or put your chart down here and look at it at the same time, stuff like that. So, so just a little addition and upgrade to the layout system. Hopefully that'll go well.
It's really cool, by the way.
Yeah, so I want to get some feedback from people because I mean one of my concerns is I don't want to make it look complicated. Obviously, this is just a layout system, so but I don't want people to like see this and freak out and be like, "Oh my god, it's so complicated." You know what I mean? Um, in addition to that, I guess sort of my point. Although this makes me nervous that people might look at it and make it feel like it's complicated. One of the reasons why I did this is because I want to be able to customize the layouts, and we can save different layouts in here, right? So the idea is I can make a simple layout, and I can hide the logs. I can hide this, and we can just go pop. That's actually one of the reasons why I started looking into this type of system, is because if we come back to um, the if we come back to the testnet, if I started to add another uh, splitter here. So here's the splitter that we have. I started to add one right here, but then I realized that there wasn't really an easy way to like get rid of it. If I double click on the splitter, it doesn't go away. It doesn't, I guess I could have added my own X, but then, I'm starting to recreate the wheel, right? And so I started looking at this and I was like, well, not only can I, show a log down here, but I haven't made it to where you can make it pop back in, but I can hide it, I can show it, I can make different layouts. And so we could have one that has a TradingView chart up here, and stuff like that, all ready for you built in, right? This same concept can actually be ported to the dashboard. So if you think about having a customized dashboard where you get to drag around different widgets and pop new widgets in, we could have the same type of thing over here, right? Um, so yeah, I wanted to get some feedback. My initial thought was that it was really cool, and my first thing was I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to affect performance, and so far it doesn't seem like it is. I'm able to sort of chuck this around, and it's pretty. And when you're not dragging it, it's the same thing. These are just windows, divs, and so don't think it should affect performance, but wanted to get other people's opinions. So we'll probably be putting this out, along with all the new updates, and have people play around with it.
So, yeah, personally, I think it's really cool, Jay. I also like the dashboard, that you're migrating that concept over to the dashboard too, because that's often been talked about in the past, right? Being able to make certain things disappear and move things around the dashboard screen. And I don't think it complicates things any, at all, really. I think it just makes it sort of easier and a little more flexible for the user, customizable. What type of information is going to show up in the log screen?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So this is a new system that's I'm still working on, that's not ready yet. But the log system, it's been in the roadmap, and we've talked about it before. The log system allows you to view all the different events that are happening for a strategy. And that includes notifications that you currently get now, some logs that I'm going to be adding so that it gives you more depth into what you're seeing. Some logs that you have right now on the alert side, being able to look at things. I'm not going to take all of that information and put it in the logs because it would make it too much, but I'm going to try to smartly link a lot of that information so that you can see that, hey, I ran some rules here, and if I want to click on it, I can open that up and look at the conditions, which is technically not a log, but it is additional information that I can pull and show around those logs, right? And so the idea with the log system is that not only will you be able to see all the errors, what a trade is doing, when it makes a request, when it gets a response, some of those more basic things. You'll be able to see the timestamp of all of that. You'll also be able to log your own events. So when anytime you know, a rule runs, you can create an action, and if that rule runs that action, you can log your own event. And so you would create an event name, my event, and you would give it a type, and this just gives it sort of like a color for when I go to show the logs. It'll be different colors. You know, this will be yellow, this will be red. You know, red for error, that sort of thing. And then you can type in whatever you want. This is an error, right? And I can say this rule ran or whatever. Now I'm also working on being able to add a reference. So you'll be able to pull whatever data that you want that you currently have. And then it right now it's just showing up right here, but eventually it'll insert that into the message right here, maybe sort of something like this or something, you know, something like that, right? Actually, I think it'll probably be something like this, right? And so then I could say, you know, I ran this rule for this symbol, you know, and then the symbol will populate in there and you'll get that message in your logs, right?
Gotcha. Very cool.
So the intention is to have a separate log screen. You won't have to open up the builder just to see the logs, but I did want to, you know, when I was going through this whole thing, I was just sort of designing it in my head as we went, and you know, sort of the next thing I landed on was, well, I really would like to see the logs in the builder. I know I'm going to have a separate screen, but how do I do that? And then I crawled into the left field that is this docking, you know, thing. But this actually only took me like 2 nights to get working, so not bad.
Very cool. Do you were you able to create that functionality where you click on the top, the name of the rule, be it a entry or exit rule, and it expands or rolls up or rolls down for savings, you know, saves or space savings on the screen?
So no, I haven't done that, but I should. You're right. I talked about that, and no, I haven't done that. So maybe if you double click on it or something like that up here, or maybe I put like a minimize button, it'll roll them up.
Yeah, that'd be really killer because, you know, I'm just waiting for this new builder to roll out production because, you know, I might have 15, 20 exit rules, you know, on one strategy. I know that sounds crazy, but, you know, there's, you know, I use a lot of global variables and confluence, and when one sort of indicator drops off, well, then, you know, I need to reduce my position a little bit. So that would be very helpful from space savings standpoint.
Okay. Very good. Keep that in mind. Yeah, I'll get that going. And yeah, so excuse me, guys. Wife brought in some pizza. Okay. So to go along with that, the idea that we're releasing these updates. That's what we're working on. So the intention was to do it last weekend. For those who were here, you probably know what happened. For those who weren't here, we started down that path, and around that same time, or like the night before, we started getting reports from people that on production we were missing alerts. It turned out to be an issue sort of at the higher end of our infrastructure with AWS, and we had to contact AWS and go back and forth with them to get it fixed. So that sort of blew up all last weekend. And so we've been trying to prepare and get ready so that we can do it this weekend. And I think we're pretty close. We've been trying to get some of the stuff prepared for like the user migration. So we're going from a old Google Firebase system for users, and we're moving over to AWS. So there's quite a few people here who haven't been here since before we moved to AWS, right? So when we first started showing people this in January of this year, we were on Firebase, not AWS, and we made multiple different moves. First, I think we just moved the database, I think, and then we started moving servers, or vice versa. And now one of the last things that we need to sort of migrate away from Firebase into AWS is users. I didn't want to make everybody make their account again, or sort of redo their password. I wanted to sort of migrate everything over as seamlessly as possible. So we've set up a system to do that, and it's just about ready. We're testing the very last parts of it. And so once that is ready, we should be able to push this out. At that point, we will be on not only new code and a new queue system and all that fancy stuff, but we'll also be on new network infrastructure. In fact, we'll be in a completely different region than we are currently. So currently we're in Ireland, one of the Europe regions, and our testnet is in the United States. And so we're actually going to be moving production over to the United States as we release all of this. Not only are we releasing new code, but we're putting it on new boxes, right? And it'll be in a new region. Now, this is just phase one of this new plan. We are planning to go back to Europe. The idea is that we're going to have multiple regions up. And so this is phase one of us moving to this new network infrastructure that has been set up on the US, and start running over there. As we switch over there and start running on the US, we can then wipe everything out that we have on Europe and start rebuilding it to look like the US. Once we have both of those running, we can start load balancing and splitting between regions, right? So that we can actually have two different regions running, and depending on what's easiest for you to connect to, we can split it. So these are all the things, that as you build a system at scale and stuff, normally you would see, the devs working, and you would see all of, these cool things happening on the website, and you'd be like, yay, devs, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes on in the background to even get that website to be fast and show up on your computer, right? Unfortunately, with the team that we have, the 2-man team, we do everything, right? So Miles has taken a lot of that back end away from me and has been doing some of that stuff, but
great job, Miles.
Yeah.
Woo!
So that's basically where we're at right now, and I mean it's a job that could easily take a whole team of 3 or 4 people dedicated to just getting everything to scale like we are, but we're getting there, and we're putting in the foundation, and I think as we grow, that's the other thing I should mention is we are sort of, for the amount of people that we have and everything, we're preparing for way more than what we need, right? I'm setting up a foundation for a system that can grow way, way bigger than what we currently have, and I'm just trying to get all that work out of the way, right? So that if that does happen and we do hit, and we're not rushing around to try to make sure that things don't crash, right? We're trying to do all of that up front, right? So that's where we're at right now. That's sort of the main sort of things I wanted to cover. I guess there's one other thing I want to mention. I've mentioned this. in the announcements recently, but we have talked a couple times about the referral program. I wanted to mention that once more. We do have a referral program built into the website. If you go to the settings screen, you can get your own referral code. And before we had founders, there used to be a paragraph here sort of explaining how the referral codes worked in the referral program. But I'll put that up here soon. But basically, the referral program, the way it works is you get credits every time somebody that you referred pays for a subscription. So if you, to make it real simple, you get 1 credit for non-pro subscriptions and 2 credits for pro subscriptions. So if it's a pro subscription and you need 6 credits for a free pro subscription yourself. So if you have 3 friends that you invite to pro, that'll give you your 6 credits, 2 each, and that gives you the 6, and that gives you a free subscription, right? Every time that they pay and renew those, you get an additional 2 credits. So if you have 3 friends and they keep paying for a pro subscription, your subscription continues to be free for as long as that happens. The reason that we do it in a slightly complicated way with the whole credit thing is just because if you invite 4 people, you don't need that extra credit. But if one of your other people, goes away or whatever, you will have stocked credits, right? So the credits do get saved, right, and rolled over and everything else, right? So the idea being that you'd be able to, invite more and then save for a rainy day if you needed to. So any questions on that?
So when we paid, or if anybody pays for the subscription, how do you link that person's stuff to either the beta or the new website that you will roll out? Like, how will the accounts be linked? Like, for example, if you had for Market Cipher a subscription with them on their website, you would have an account and basically put in your TradingView username so that it would associate to. It's like, I don't know how that would all work. Go ahead.
Yeah, all so websites are connected. So with Market Cipher, go ahead, Jake. You can explain it if you want.
Well, so with the example that you gave with Market Cipher is a different thing because it's a script that runs on TradingView. Right, we're our own website, right? So for us, if you hit the settings button and you see referral code, so this is your personal link that you can copy. You click on this, and then you can send that to any of your friends. When they click this link, it will give them your referral code, okay? And they'll sign up with your referral code. They'll get their own, and they can send their referral code to other people, but you... if they sign up with this code, they are tied to you, right? And from that point on, every time that they pay, you're the one who's getting credits for that.
That's right.
In addition, I should also say, I believe it says it in the message. Yeah, so it says use this link to get started for free and get credit towards a free subscription. So it says that because when somebody uses your link, they also get a credit for using the link. So if you sign up with the referral code, you get 1 extra credit put into your account, right? And once again, you need 6 credits to redeem. But this extra credit is used, the same way, and it's earned through this referral code. So that's to give them an incentive to go out and ask for a referral code or to use one and not try to screw somebody who gives them one, right? It's like, I know some people who are just like, oh, thanks for telling me, but no, I'm not going to use your referral code just because I don't want nobody to, benefit. I don't know. People are weird, right? But if you give them a benefit for them, then of course they want to use it, right?
Right.
So, all right. So that's the main spiel today. Looks like we have Richard in here as well. Hey, Richard. Glad to finally meet you.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Yeah, really good. Really excited about everything you guys have been up to.
Awesome. Were you? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that you guys have been working really hard on this league.
Yep. It's a labor of love for sure. So were you here?
You can definitely see that.
I appreciate it. Were you here a second ago when I was showing off what I added to the builder?
I was, really impressed. Really impressed. You guys have done an incredible job, and I'm sure you guys are going to put together even more amazing things as time goes on.
Yes. So this is going to lead us to the more interactive portion of the program. So how's everybody doing in trading? I know I've talked to a couple of you and I think the one issue that I've gotten from a couple people is that Bybit isn't canceling orders for TPSL, although so far I've done research and I keep finding that it looks like it is. So I'm trying to figure that out.
I've had that issue, but the thing that I realized when I just left it was it isn't actually a big deal, because if you've got the account open, you can either just manually close it yourself. But if the trade's happening at night, you know this anyway, I'm sure. If it hits any one of those conditional orders, it does nothing. It just cancels it out.
Yeah. It's a reduce only order. It's a special type of order called reduce only, and that's what it's made to do. It can only reduce an open position, and if it just so happens that your position had already closed, when it gets hit, nothing happens, right? So I've known that, and that's what I assure people as well, is that, hey, it's okay. But at the same time, ideally, it should cancel. And I feel like it was just like a couple weeks ago. Not even. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that.
Yeah, but it's not a massive deal. At least not for now, anyways.
Everything's going good on my end, Jake.
All right. I'm still working on doing your one true dream.
Oh yes, it is. That's my dream.
Yep. Still working on that. So
yeah, that would be the open trades tab.
Right.
Open trades.
And it's actually, and obviously we've discussed this, but to show everybody else, it's actually similar to this new open trades column I have over here, and it would show you not the positions necessarily, but the trades that are open based on what strategies are running. And if you click on a strategy, it'll also show you on the right side the information for that strategy now. So just a slight change to the way that this screen works. It still does the list screen as well, but just gives some more structure to this page. So. Did you have something to say, Miles?
I was just laughing at the open trade. At the fact that JP wants an open trades tab, but he got a column.
Well, no, yeah, we're going to be adding a tab here for the same thing, but I just haven't done that yet. So.
Yeah, because right now, I've got 13 open positions at different exchanges, and within each of those positions, there are sometimes multiple trades.
Mm-hmm.
It's just mine. There's just no way I can manage it without that list. But I know it's coming. I have faith.
It's coming.
Now, I will say, for as many of the things that I've seen when people sending stuff out, there's probably somebody, I'm not saying nobody does it, but there's not too many places that I've seen who will track track trades in the way that we're tracking trades. Most of the time, it's just like, oh, hey, here's the order, or here's what happened. Or if they are tracking trades, it's coming from, they're not tracking it, it's coming from the exchange. Right? And the exchange will have certain trades that they say, but even those trades sometimes don't match up with what the bot was actually doing because of the way that the orders were placed. Right? So it's, that's one of the things that, is difficult, I will say. It's definitely difficult. Is trying to track all of this stuff. And that's why people don't do it like this. Because it's difficult. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Some other housekeeping items. So props to Miles again for getting us access to the TradingView chart library. So we finally have access to what we have been wanting.
That's a big deal. That's going to be awesome too.
Yeah, this is going to be big. So I already have a chart that I've been messing with that I haven't shown too many people. It sort of looks like this. It's very simple, right? And it allows me to draw just a couple things on it. So maybe I can say that, hey, an alert popped up here, or hey, we started a trade. But it's not going to allow me to do very much. So I started with this, and this also doesn't give you just. This is from TradingView, right? But unfortunately, when you start using these self-hosted libraries versus their cloud widgets, if you use this cloud widget, they give you all the pricing and it's all built in. But if you go over to the self-hosted libraries like this one, you have to get the pricing yourself. So I'm actually taking the pricing directly from the exchange now, right? And I'm filling these charts. So that's actually a good thing. It's a pain in the ass for me, but it's a good thing long term, right? So if we go to technical analysis charts, this is what you can get this one for free. You can walk up, grab it, they'll give it to anybody. This one is also free, but they don't just give it to anybody. You kind of have to ask for it, and then they don't respond and a bunch of shit.
You have to have a business actually.
Right. So this is what's going to allow us to, use the real charts, right, and draw everything that we want. A couple things I want to point out here. This is something to get excited about. This is going to be really, really cool. But one thing not to get too excited about, it does allow you to do indicators, but these are all the built-in TA indicators, right, that TradingView has. This is not going to allow you to run PineScript. Right, so any of your strategies or anything, you're still going to have to run those on TradingView, and if you want to run alerts and all of that, you're still going to have to run those on TradingView. Eventually, we will have TALib, and that's going to plug into these types of charts, and then you'll be able to get your ATR and your RSI or your volume or whatever else without sending alerts. At that point, you won't need to run your PineScript strategy. You won't need to send alerts from TradingView. You can replace your logic that's in your PineScript strategy with logic in our visual builder here at TradeLab. And then at that point, you'll go to TradeLab and you'll see the chart just like you used to see it because we're using TradingView charts. You'll be able to put your indicators for our ATR or whatever on here. And we'll be able to draw lines based on the TPSL lines that you have, the variables that you have, the rules that are running. We'll be able to draw stuff on this chart as well. I'm planning on putting actions in to like plot certain things as an action, right? Certain things like that. So that's all going to plug in here. And then at that point, if you are using TradeLab and you're not sending alerts and you come in here and use this, you're basically using the familiar chart of TradingView, but you don't have to go to TradingView anymore, right? So now this one more thing, this doesn't come with TradingView's backtester, of course. Many people wouldn't want that anyway. They want a new one. That is something that I'm working on. It's probably not going to come till next year, right? But that's a whole thing, right? But I'm getting towards that. In order to do that, I have to have TradeLab. I have to have these charts going. I have to have the extra server for TradeLab and backtesting going, right? So those things are being checked off that list to get to backtesting, but those things are also features on their own, right? That we're excited about that we get in the interim. So
it's going to be absolute nirvana, man. When we get there, and we'll be able to cancel our TradingView subscriptions. But this won't be able to handle custom indicators via PineScript, right? Because they'll technically have to still be in TradingView and send an alert sent over, right?
Correct. So this will never allow us to run PineScript on our website through our charts. TradingView won't allow that. Right. They want you to go to their website because, as we just explained, you could cancel your TradingView membership and use sort of what TradingView is providing, but through our website. And since we're doing all the work, you don't have to pay a subscription for them, and so no big deal, right? But if they allowed you to run PineScript through one of these, iframe type of deals and on our own website, there would be nothing to entice you to go pay for them, right? And also they would get a whole bunch of traffic, from these other, things trying to run. So
sure. Now, TradeLab provides a lot. All of that. There will be people who will abandon TradingView and do it and run everything within TradeLab.
Well, in the long run, this has been the goal. Is the goal hasn't necessarily been to replace TradingView. We're sort of going down that path, and that's fine. But the one thing that I did want to replace out of TradingView was that the whole goal for this was for people to not have to learn PineScript and to use our visual builder to make their own strategies. Use the same logic that you would have to use if you want to use two indicators in TradingView. You have two options right now. You can either make a PineScript that combines those two indicators and then makes it one strategy, right? PineScript strategy, or you can use TradeLab. You can use the visual builder and you can glue those together using alerts, right? And now, what we're trying to do is take away the need for alerts, but you'll still be able to glue those things together. And so at that point, you're really, doing it just like PineScript is doing, and you're replacing that PineScript logic. And so now you don't need the PineScript strategies anymore, right?
And that technically speeds things up a little bit. Alerts come, every 15 seconds or something thereabout. And the TA will be sort of immediate.
Right. So that's something that I am definitely playing with, trying to decide how fast we can run, what sort of things. I will say that for sure, we already have a very slight difference if you look at our website. So if you have the free plan, you get all the same features as somebody who pays for Pro. Right, you really do. Going forward, there will be other things added that you'll have more access to in Pro. But for right now, this is like the basis of what TradeLab is, and so everybody gets everything, even if you're free. one thing that I will note is that this is just the start of the differences that will be being made. So we have this new update that I'm releasing is actually going to run heartbeats instead of once a minute. It runs it every 15 seconds only for the strategies that are in a trade, right? So you'll actually be running those every 15 seconds. And a lot of this stuff is stuff that as we scale and I figure out where we are, it's like, hey, can we do this for everybody or can we do this only for these certain people, right? So it's sort of just trial and error and figuring it out as we scale. But for right now, what we have is the free plan and the $30 plan. Both of those only get 1 minute heartbeats. If you go up to the trader plan or the pro plan, you get 15-second heartbeats, right? And so you can expect similar types of things when we go to TradeLab and speed things up, right? So it might not be 15 seconds. It might be 5 seconds. It might be faster. I don't exactly know yet. But I would say you can definitely expect that like the free people aren't going to be running as fast as the pro people, right? On TradeLab. And so that's the information that I have right now. Not willing to commit to any specific numbers yet, but really what that comes down to, TradeLab is all about me launching a separate cluster of servers that specifically just data handle all day. They don't make calls. They don't serve a website. They don't do anything except, hey, I want to get the RSI for BTC USD from Bybit, right? And all they're going to do is get that RSI and crunch. They're going to get the pricing chart from Bybit. They're going to crunch the numbers with TradeLab to get the RSI, and they're going to update a cache sitting there so that anybody, no matter when they do it, they don't have to go and ask for it. They just grab whatever the cache is, right? And then this server's over here just churning all the time as fast as it can. Okay, I got the RSI. Okay, I got the RSI. Go get the RSI again. Okay, I got the RSI. And it's just updating the cache. And then somebody goes out to the board, if you will, like it puts it up on the board. Somebody goes out to the board and just grabs it, right? Anytime they need it, right? And so that's a whole nother server infrastructure that has to be built. And it's honestly not really that hard, but just the idea of those servers too, like we have servers right now with their upkeep and everything, and those servers are quote unquote making money because they're serving customers. Well, this is also serving data, but in an indirect way, right? So it's just getting all of that sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, any other questions? Anything anybody's been wanting to see, or having issues with, or suggestions?
I've got a couple of I don't know if I would call them issues, but they're just a couple of little things. I posted one thing in the Discord. I think hopefully I'll be able to work it out myself. Yeah, it was just I'll send you the trade ID, but it was just the break even. It appeared, I think, like an hour after my TP1 was hit. And I watched your troubleshooting video and I went through everything, but I couldn't seem to find the answer.
Okay, and so what was the problem specifically?
So when the TP1 was hit, it closed on Bybit, and I was watching it. I actually screen recorded it just because I've been checking the moving the stop loss to break even when the TP1's hit, and it did do it, but it took almost an hour, and I could see TradeLab sending that to Bybit about an hour later, but I couldn't understand what the trigger was. But I'll send you the trade ID anyway. If you've got time to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about if you hit TP1, it will break even once. I guess it depends on how the exchange is handling it, and if they have a secondary call for this. So the intention is that when it is triggered, it is the is hit is supposed to go to true, right? And then that would trigger your break even. Now, one thing that I'm wondering is because the concept that it just happened an hour late, that's not really how things work. Right, so like the concept so the concept that like it got something an hour ago and then it's just now acting on that isn't right. It's more so that what we expected that it got an hour ago, it didn't actually get, and it took an hour for it to get what we thought it got. And so in this example, that would be I think that it should be doing it on the trigger, but maybe it's doing it on the fill. And so the question, and this is a total theory, right? But the question would be, is it possible that when the order, when the TP got hit, it was triggered, but that when you trigger it, it triggers an order, and that order sat as a limit order, and it didn't get filled for an hour. And then the price went up and down and up and down, and then finally came back up to that TP and was like, hey, I'm now here, and somebody filled that order. And then it's at that point that TradeLab finally saw it and then did the break even, and it was an hour later.
It's possible. I'll tell you what, I actually screen recorded it just because I've been trying to really understand the way everything works, because I basically quit my job and I'm doing this full time now. But I'll have a look if I can dig the screen recording out, and I'll send it to you. I think with David's bots, they're so complex that there's a few issues on David's side. But I've actually been speaking to him and stuff, and it's good because I'm just trying to iron out some of the stuff, and I'm trying to help a lot of people in the group. I'm like your what do you call it? Like I'm the sheepdog in David Tech, trying to round everyone up, getting everyone interested in
the ambassador.
Yeah, and I've seen that too.
Well, I think it's so cool because so many people have so many challenges, with the other bots, and I know a lot of these issues have been worked out in TradeLab, and it just makes it a lot easier, I think, for a lot of people. So it's good. I think there were some of the things that were kind of I was finding a bit of a challenge, but I eventually worked them out when I spoke to David. And so I was actually going to put together a document or something for people in the group just so that they can kind of understand how it all works together.
Cool.
But I'll dig out the video and then you can kind of see how the trade happened live, and I'll give you the trade ID.
Great. Awesome. Looks like CRMT leader is still having a couple issues. I'll look at that here in a second. So Richard, you mentioned that you were sort of doing this full time. That's awesome, and that's super great. I guess what I want to say is, if you have a bunch of time to spend doing this, I want to make that easy for you to do, right? So let's talk more about it. If you're going to be using this a lot and you're able to test and give feedback and all of that, I want to make that easy for you, right? So
that's really kind of you, dude. Yeah, well, I mean, I think what you guys are doing, is awesome. I mean, I've been basically like doing manual trading for years now, and I just got to a point where waking up at like 4 a.m. or staying up till 3 a.m. was beginning to hurt my relationship a little bit. And so I started basically just like coding my own bots, and then got into David's bots and stuff, which is really cool. But some of the other bots, I found quite challenging. I'm not very good at coding, so it's actually really nice to find what you guys have been creating, because it's kind of exactly what I've been looking for. But what I really want to do is basically try and make it easy for everyone else in the group, because I'm doing this pretty much full time now. So any little challenges which people have, I was thinking of just putting together a document, and maybe if I have any questions, I can just ask, and then I'll make it easy for everyone else.
Have you ever shot a YouTube video?
Yeah, because I think there's over 4,000 people now in Daily Tech.
Yeah. Have you ever shot a video for YouTube?
Say again?
Have you ever shot a YouTube video?
Oh, I've done a few. Yeah, I mean, I can do a screen recording.
Right.
I was thinking once I've got everything set up and I feel very comfortable, like I know it well. Maybe over the next few weeks, I can do a screen recording for everyone in the group.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason I say that is honestly, it can be good for people to like see it instead of reading it and all of that. So there's benefits there, but really the main reason I say it is for your benefit, because if you're going to, and screen recording is all you need. That's all I do. And actually, I'm planning. I think I got a webcam over here, and I'm planning on making a bunch of videos after these updates are released, and I might use my.
You're showing your face?
I might use my webcam and then sort of make a big. I might sort of make a big deal about it and be like, But
wait, that's not your real photo.
What's that?
That's not your real photo.
No. I mean, it's but so the thing about it is, what I'm trying to say is, screen recording is all you need. Everybody's loved my stuff, and I have never been a YouTube personality, right? I've never been that sort of guy. But what I have learned is, if you have information and you're able to share it, and you know where to post it and give that information to people, there's they will come. They will come, right? And I don't know, I don't know that, it takes quite a bit to get monetized on YouTube. I'm not saying that you're going to make a bunch of money, but the idea that you can provide information and people can come to you, even if that doesn't make you money for the next 3 years because you don't build a following for forever. The idea, though, is that those people are there and you have a connection now. And so if you ever have an idea later on or want to do something, it's there, right? I've just found it very helpful that it's like, hey, if I'm going to do something, I might as well, get something out of it. And the value of having, a video on YouTube with views or having those subscribers is different than, like, I've written stuff on Medium, medium.com, that site. You don't get the same clout doing this, you know what I mean? Whereas with YouTube, you do, and so that was my only comment. So
awesome, no, definitely. Well, I think maybe once I feel very, very confident in it, like I kind of know it well, then I would definitely consider doing that.
Awesome. Yes. And that's another thing that we keep on toying around with, and I just haven't. I mean, once we have revenue and we have more of a pool here, we can start talking more about this. But like, we definitely want to have some sort of outreach and some sort of partnership program with people who can create content. And if you're going to create content and post it and make it, TradeLab oriented, we want to reward that in some way, right? And if you have that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's kind of weird. You don't have to do that for me. I mean, to be honest with you, I just,
Well, no, but I'm talking more of like a general thing, not that it's going to be, something that we're going to be paying out a bunch of money, but the idea that, like, the same thing over here, when I have the referral code, I want to have something that, we can start to connect with those types of people. And if you do want to apply to say, hey, do this, we have that open to everybody. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I just, it's really nice being part of David's group, and I'm sorry, and being part of your group. It's kind of like a nice little kind of oasis where everyone's very friendly and everyone kind of helps each other. Sorry, it's my wife calling. I just enjoy helping people. I mean, because it is an incredibly complicated thing. I see so many people coming in the group and then they just, they leave after like a week because they just realize how incredibly complicated it all is. And it's nice to help, there's a lot of, because I think there's quite a few people that are using Alertron, but I see the vast majority of people in the group just don't understand it because obviously you have to use the codes and everyone's getting everything wrong.
Right.
I think once I feel really confident, like I really understand TradeLab, then I was going to put together some bits and pieces for everyone in the group of how it works with David Tadbots.
Yeah, very cool. So one other thing I'll pull up here. So this is the roadmap. I always like to touch base on where we are in the roadmap. Should be working on the sharing overhaul. Have done a little bit of that, but a little bit behind. We have the go live package, which should be extended to the end of this month. That's what we're working on right now. So just trying to get through some of the harder stuff. We can also see that the user logging system. Yes. User logging system is being worked on as well. We're getting through there. We also have the trading chart component that's coming. That's slated for October. Might be able to start working on that in September. Just depends on. I do got to get the sharing overhaul done, so that might be September. But cool. Yeah, so been on track for a while. A couple things are lagging a little bit right now, but that's to be expected. So I guess one other thing, there's a couple new people in here, so I just want to go over one of the main things that TradeLab is and where we're going. So we've already discussed the TA lib, we've already discussed the back testing that we want to do and that sort of stuff. One of the main things that I am looking to use to separate TradeLab from the competition isn't just the fact that we can do multiple confirmation with rules or make your own logic or anything like that. In addition, though, one of the main things is AI. I want to be able to use artificial intelligence to help automate certain things. So as we can see right here, we have this market climate shaper. This market climate shaper is a system that I'm developing, and I basically have everything that I need with the exception of the TA lib stuff, right? So the TA lib is going to finally allow us. I need a separate server basically to crunch these numbers, right? But as that comes online, we'll be starting to see the market climate shaper creating these. So this, what I call is the market shaper engine, right? And the market shaper engine creates shapes, right? And these shapes are based on a radar graph. This radar graph has different dimensions, and each of these dimensions would be a different composite metric. You could think of like, volume or volatility or, that sort of stuff. It won't just be that simple. It'll be like the volume based on the day of the month or the day of the week, so that it's tied to time, right? So that we get even more accurate and differing values, right? And with all of those differing values, it creates this shape. And this shape describes how the market feels at that time. And the market being, say, BTC or Ethereum on a particular exchange, right? So like Ethereum on Bybit might be this shape. Ethereum on Binance might be a different shape because they're different markets, right? So as I said, I got to have a different server because as you can imagine, we got to be crunching lots of numbers for lots of different symbols, and we're making a shape for every symbol on every exchange. Now, we won't be doing that all the time. We'll be doing it on demand, right? So as you open up a strategy for Ethereum on Binance, we'll go ahead and register that and be tracking it. So what that allows us to do is to give you a nice little shape and to give you an idea of, how the market feels. Now, what do you do with that? I pulled this up a second ago. I'm a big believer of tool belt trading. So one thing that I see with a lot of people who run around looking for strategies is that they find a strategy that they like, that they somewhat understand, that they can get to work at this, maybe this week it's working well, and then they'll use that and they'll use it for everything. They'll use it on Bitcoin, and without knowing why it works on Bitcoin, they'll bring it over to Cardano, right? And they'll run it over there thinking that it's going to work over there. If it doesn't, I just need to tweak something, and maybe that's true, but sometimes different strategies should be used in different marketplaces, and one tool isn't going to work for this job and versus another job, right? Like it's what I like to say is you want to use the right tool for the job, right? And you wouldn't just grab a sledgehammer and use it to paint your house or wash your dishes, right? You would use the right tool for the right job. And I feel like a lot of people are finding that one strategy and then running around with the sledgehammer and destroying their house, right? Because that's, they're using it incorrectly. And so the idea is with tool belt trading is to have multiple tools on your tool belt. And as you see different opportunities present themselves, you use the right tool for the right job. Now, this comes in different steps, right? So it's one thing to go out and find a couple different tools, but it's another thing to have a good tool belt, because you can go find a hammer, right? Maybe a sledgehammer. And then you're like, okay, well, let me go find another strategy to put on my tool belt. And then you go find another hammer. It might be a smaller hammer, a ball peen hammer or something, but it's like, okay, now I have 5 hammers on my tool belt. That doesn't really help me, right? So the first step is really finding strategies that complement each other, right? So like this strategy does well during trends, but it doesn't do well during sideways trading. So now go find a strategy that does do well during sideways trading, right? That you can DCA or do something that even though you don't know exactly what's happening, it can survive and thrive, right? So now you have multiple strategies that complement each other. Now you know how these strategies work and what they do. Now you got to take all these strategies and bring them to the playground, all the charts, the market, okay? But here's the problem, is that every chart's different, every opportunity in market is different, and so that means that you're now having to not only learn the tools, you had to spend some time to even find the tools and learn how to use them and what they're good for. Now you got to learn what this hole in the wall is, or what this pile of dishes is. Like you have to learn what the pattern is on the chart, what you're looking at. And that's a totally different thing. And actually it's somewhat harder to do because it changes all the time because of market climates, right? And so long story short, going back to these shapes, the idea here is that I am creating shapes and putting them on every symbol, and then I can have an AI puppet watch your strategies. Let's say you have 5 strategies on your tool belt, and let's say you turn them all off and you and you start running one strategy. I can watch that strategy, and if it opens a trade, if it does well on that trade, I can say, hey, it did well and it had this shape at the time for BTC. So this strategy must do pretty well with this shape. And if it didn't do well, then I can make a note that, hey, it didn't do well. Don't run this strategy again with this shape. After you do that for a certain amount of time, you gather up information, and now I can have an AI puppet turn off and on your 5 strategies based on what the market is doing. So you still have to get your tools and you still have to learn how to use them. But now I've made the second part so much easier, right? Because now you don't have to study that hole in the wall, right? You can just sort of have the bot do it, and it'll learn what the hole in the wall is, and that you should be using plaster for that and not a hammer, right? Sorry for all the metaphors, but hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It's I mean, I wouldn't know where to start, but I get what you're saying. It looks really exciting.
Yep. So that's one thing that I just, people who are excited about what we have and everything, I always like to show that, because it's like, I'm glad that you're excited, and there's even more to be excited about, like, you know. So we're getting there. There's a larger vision, and I mean, that is to say that, like, this has been part of the plan. Like, so if we take a look one more time at this, in addition to the market climate shaper, I also have this NLP. NLP is natural language processing. So I'm actually working with some AI libraries, and I'm looking into using GPT-3 as well, eventually, to basically create a bot that can speak to you. And it'll have like a little chat box down at the bottom, sort of like we have down here. And you'll be in the builder, and you'll be building something. And this is down the road, right? This is probably not even next year. I don't know yet, but we have to have back testing. We have to have all of that in place. What this bot, I call it Timmy, right? I want him to have a little personality, right? And the idea is you're building something, and it keeps on, losing for some reason. So you go into Timmy, and it's like, how can I make this more profitable for downtrends? And Timmy will take that question. He'll understand, bits and pieces of what you're saying. So he says, okay, downtrend, and he can set up multiple different back testing scenarios, take the rules that you have. And this is what I mean by this has all been part of the plan. If you look at how I've even created this and structured it, I could have made this. Some people have asked me, why didn't I make a node system? Why did I make a bunch of blocks with if and then conditions? And it's because Timmy will be able to use these blocks and add more blocks and put things in a whole lot easier than if it was a node system. Right. And I'm actually building a node system for a totally different flow. We'll get into that. I don't want to get too complicated, but long story short, this is the reason I built it this way, was because I wanted to use AI to help you. So what Timmy will be able to do is to create 100 different variations of your current strategy by adding an extra action here, taking away this condition, adding a whole new rule over here. He'll create 100 different versions of what you have, and then backtest all those versions, and then say, hey, I recommend that you add this new rule, because I went and tried all this stuff, and this came out to be better results than what you have now. Right. And so that's the vision, right? It's a long-term vision, but that's why we're TradeLab.ai and not just TradeLab. Right?
Jake, you are a fan.
Love that.
Badass.
Yes. Well, glad that everybody likes that. I certainly do too. I've been doing AI for quite a while. I actually started with game design. right? Game programming. I went to school for game engine development, and I actually worked for a couple game studios and built an engine. Unfortunately, that engine was trashed. China spent $12 million on it, and then they threw it in the garbage. That's a story for another day. I'm out of NDA for all of that. Like, I'm pretty sure that if I went on YouTube and like told that whole story, I'd get a bunch of views for it, because there's a lot of people who were pissed off about that. But anyway, yeah. So it's one of them things.
Well, you guys have done an amazing job. I think Timmy's going to be my new best friend.
Oh, yeah.
Right on. Is that when we're going to roll out the new logo for Timmy?
Oh, boy.
Right. Yeah, I was looking at that, and I was pretty tickled pink by it. I thought it was kind of cool. I will say that one of the first feedback I got from other people was, "Hey, that's a robot head. Yeah, that's a robot head. That looks just like Alertitron's logo." Right? And I was like, "Ah, damn it. Like, you're right."
Yeah, it did look identical. Once I looked at it, I was like, fuck.
Thanks.
So Ethereum, anyone trading it?
Yeah, Miles, man, you told us a couple days ago we better be in it.
I said, if you ain't, you're goofy. And that was at the bottom. I 100x the bottom.
Nice. Yeah, it's been going to the moon. It's up 100% in the last 30 days.
Yeah, I'm a 100x leverage trade right now.
Wow.
Up 50% of the position.
That's crazy.
Damn, boy. Good job.
Up 50% position means he's up half of a percent.
Yep, I'm up half a percent, but I'm up half of my entire fucking position. Once again, at the very bottom of the little breakout.
Nice.
So I think this is a good clip. I am recording all of this, so I might pull this out. Let's real quick talk about liquidation.
Little screenshot the AM in the chat. Oh, that's not a screenshot. This is a screenshot.
Okay, so let's real quick talk about let's talk about liquidation. So liquidation, they have different rules per exchange. I'm going to use Bybit as an example because I know their rules the best. So liquidation is something that happens when you're using leverage or when you have an open position. When you're spot trading, you don't normally have to worry about liquidation because you're actually purchasing assets. I know that there are some times where you can do leverage on spot, and liquidation might come into play there, depending on how they're leveraging those tokens, right? But anytime that you have an open position on a exchange, okay, a position that you have open that you were tracking, and this usually happens when you're not buying and selling assets, but you're trading contracts or derivatives on those assets, right? So when you have an open position, you can be liquidated. Now, people think of liquidation as, oh, hey, I lost so much and so I lost all my money. And that's true. But liquidation is not when you lose 100% of what you put in. So if I put in $100 and I'm at 1 times leverage, I would need to lose $100 for me to lose, right? But losing $100 in that situation would be called bankruptcy. Okay, and that would be if I start at a certain price and it goes down and I lose all my money at $100 at that price, then that price where I lose all my money, that's the bankruptcy price. Okay. Now there's a thing called the liquidation price, which is in between your entry price, and the bankruptcy price. And that's different for every exchange and for every symbol. For example, Bybit has a 50% liquidation rule on BTC and Ethereum. On almost every other symbol, they have a 70% liquidation rule. And what that means is you can either lose 50% or 70% of your margin. Okay, and this is with respect to leverage, which we'll get to here in a second. But let's say that we're doing $100 at one leverage, and we're doing it for BTC. That would mean that as soon as I lose $50, 50%, I have lost everything. They take it away immediately, right? And that is because what they're actually having to do is you have an open position, and you can't owe them more money than you put in, right? Unless you're doing cross leverage, and that's a whole different thing, right? But the idea is they need to get you out without you losing more money than you're supposed to lose, okay? And so what they do is as soon as you hit 50% in that case, they will liquidate you, take everything away from you, and they place an exit order at the bankruptcy price to try to get it to sell. So they're doing it way ahead of time, if you will, to try to get it to sell. Now that sounds like they're doing it way ahead of time. If you got $100 and you're doing one leverage and they're doing 50%, that's a large lead time to make sure that they don't lose any money, right? But think about it this way. Now let's do 10 leverage. Now you can't lose 50%. You can lose 5%. And if you lose another 5%, then you're negative. So that's why it's so important that they put it as such a big gap, a 50% gap, because with leverage, that gap gets a lot smaller, right?
Very quick.
Very quick. And so I bring all this up to say that TradeLab does have a liquidation backstop. If we go into the settings screen and we go to risk management, there's a liquidation backstop in here. Almost every other place in TradeLab, if I ask you for a percentage, it's usually the percent of the chart movement. Here, it's a different weird type of percentage. So sometimes it's also like the percentage of the profit. This is sort of like that, but it's different. It's weird. So this is a percentage of your margin that is offsetted by the liquidation price. So the best way that I can explain that is, if I have $100 and I'm going to be liquidated at 50%, so I would be liquidated at $50. If I put 5 in the liquidation backstop, it's going to put me 5% of my margin above the liquidation line, which means I could only lose 45% or $45 of my $100. And then the liquidation, it's a stop order. That's what it is. It's a stop line. I'm putting a stop line in there right above your liquidation. Okay. Now here's the important part. This has to be a high enough number for it to make sense. If you put it 1% above, and if I lose $59 or $49, right, then it's going to trigger. Now, when it triggers, I'm trying to trigger it as a market order, but even market orders take a second to fill, right? So if you put it at 49 and 50's liquidation, and we trigger 49, but it doesn't get filled fast enough, boom, everything's gone.
And it also could fill above 50 because it's a market order, which means everything's gone anyway. So that's why you have to set it as a one. Like you said, you can't have one. You're risking a very big chance of it not working at that point.
So I know not everybody uses this. It is an optional feature, but I did want to mention it. And I think it should be its own video, so I'm probably going to clip this and put it
later. Strider.
He just said it.
What's that?
I just said it because I don't want to get tripped up.
Oh, cool.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Take it easy, Strider. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the liquidation amount is so high, man. When I open trades manually on Kucoin and I use just 1x leverage, which is really not leverage at all,
Right.
it will provide the liquidation price, and it will be real low. It'll be almost down to zero. Maybe that's a misleading number, or I'm looking at the wrong number.
Well,
yeah.
What I will say is that some liquidation can be very complicated to calculate, and this is why I get it directly from the exchange, because every exchange is different. I think Bybit is that's why I use them as an example, because I think they're one of the most simple, but because they're simple, they're one of the most harsh. So I think their rule is just 50%. I don't care what you're doing, 50%, 50%, 50%.
That's what it is.
Now, I don't care if it's 1x leverage, which it doesn't really matter if it's 1x leverage. It might as well be spot, but I don't care, 50%. Now, Kucoin and other, and I don't even know if this is right for Kucoin. I'm just doing it based off of what you just said. But I do know that it's possible that other exchanges will say, well, hey, if you're doing 1x leverage, then we have a multiplier. If you were doing 10x leverage, then we would bring, maybe we start at 10%, but the more leverage that you do, we bring that up closer to 50%. You see what I mean? But so if you do 1x leverage, maybe you're only doing 10%, right? But then when you do 10x leverage, maybe you're closer to 50% for Kucoin, something like that. And I have no clue exactly how it works. I would have to look it up. But I don't need to, because I'm using their direct calculation, right? So I know that I'm getting the right number. But yeah, it's a whole thing for sure. It's complicated.
I realized Bybit was so darn brutal when it comes to that. I gotta give that.
Well, I mean, 50%, that's a lot to be down in a trade.
Yeah, no doubt. I hear you. But you just never know, right? I would ask for that. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would never, if my trade goes under 10%, I'm out of the trade. There's no way. My something was off. It didn't execute how I planned, and the trade's no good. Find another one.
Oh yeah, I mean, my exit rules will get me out of there, so I'm not too worried. But before TradeLab, hey, in the middle of the night, sometimes we have to be down a couple $1,000. Freaking, who knows? I mean, there's wild swings occurring.
Mm-hmm. That's something that I've noticed, and I think most people will notice, is that if you really start looking into exchanges and which exchange is better than the other, it's almost like going to buy a computer. You can find a computer with a really great processor and some memory and really great specs, and it could be a lot lower than a lot of the other stuff with the same specs. But when you look into it, that motherboard isn't the exact same motherboard. It's this version that's slightly different, right? And that RAM might be the same amount of RAM, but it's from a different company who has a slightly different clock rate, right? And those things added together, the clock rate, and maybe that motherboard, because it was a different version, maybe it has a different bus, right? And the bus is smaller, and that makes it go slower, right? But you don't realize that unless you literally spend an hour looking through all of these little tiny things, right? It's the same thing with exchanges. So you might be getting a lot of great fee either discounts, or some even give you rebates where you get negative fees and they pay you for trading. You got to do market maker trades for that and that sort of stuff. But long story short, there's a lot of things that they'll entice you, and they've trained people to look for these certain things, just like a high number of RAM or a fast clock rate on a CPU, but they don't look at the bus. Right, so they don't look at what the liquidation rules are or something else, right? And you'll find that there's a lot of exchanges that the ones that everybody uses, that they think are the best, that have the biggest volume and stuff, they're actually taking the worst liberties with all of this little stuff. If you go to another exchange, you probably won't get as much action But if you look into their rules, they've made the rules a lot nicer to everybody because they do want people to come and trade. The ones who have everybody trading, they make these rules benefit them, and they end up with more money and stuff, and they screw the customer. But hey, everybody's already here, so who cares? So that's just something to think about. And I mean, the exchange wars go on every week, every day, right? If you look at the leaderboards, they shift all the time because people, figure these things out, So yeah.
Hey, Jake, I just got one last question, and I guess it's in regards to the UI. Are you going to, or are you sort of exploring a way to filter the alerts? Because, that's another challenge that I'm facing is I get so many alerts because we don't have a TI, right? It just had a real tough time finding, that alert that should have exited a position for me, right? Because I'm getting a couple thousand a day, So being able to sort of keyword search or something like that, I know we can sort by symbol and the alert template and stuff, but boy, a keyword search up there would be great.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
Just thought I'd throw that out.
I mean, the keyword though, like what type of keyword are you trying to look for?
What I do is I name my alerts the alert type, right? I give it this descriptive name, like 8021.
Okay.
And I'll put
So you want to filter by the type?
Yeah, right. I want to keyword search by the type, so I can just type in a few things, and that'll pull up, filter out all the crap.
Couldn't you just filter by the alert? Like not just type, but anything in the alert template?
Well, that's why I specifically asked him what he's trying to do, because doing what he's asking for is fairly easy. Doing what you just said is not as easy. And I could see why people would want to do that, but and that's actually what I intended to do all the way back when we were doing Firebase. And now I can do that sort of searching. I want to put, I have this really nice data table system that you can sort by everything and search by every column, and everything is really nice. The problem with implementing that was that I had to be able to search and filter the database like that. And in the beginning, using Firestore, I wasn't able to do that. Now I have Mongo, we should be able to do that more. But I just haven't, those are the things that I spent weeks on last year before I showed anybody. I spent weeks okay, let me sit down and get a nice data table system and let me get everything working, and it turns out I couldn't because of the database at the time. Now I'm having to deal with, all, anything else having to do with trading and what's important now. And I don't have time to sit here and spend a week on making a table, but we'll get there.
So what kind of trading is everyone doing in this market? It's very appealing market right now.
My most profitable trades are still buying the overbought, oversold, as long as it is in agreement with the trend, the global trend, right? The global trend is kind of up, so whenever anything's oversold, I'll buy it, and I'll buy it on different time frames, and just keep accumulating, and that's been doing really well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I've been using David's optimizer. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to play around with it, but it's pretty amazing. But it's like a widget you have to use through.
Yeah, no, I've used it. Yeah.
No, it's pretty cool. I basically I found a way that if you download say you do 1,000 runs through, you can basically take the Excel spreadsheet afterwards, and you can delete a whole lot of columns. And I basically look at all the smallest drawdown strategies, and then I'll go through and look at what gives the biggest net profit, and I'll just input all those things in, whichever one has the nicest looking kind of profit curve, going back over the last year and a half, 2 years.
That's
Yeah, but it's an incredibly powerful tool. I mean, it usually takes a strategy from doing like say 400% gain a year to something like 5,000% gain, and get a few of those bots working, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I got a quick question, Richard, on and we may have talked about this. I can never remember who I talked about this to or not. You are using David Tech strategies, and you're using that on TradingView. When you look at the TradingView chart at the top left, there's a thing called the candle type, where you can switch the candle type. Do you know what candle type you use?
Oh, I just use the normal candles. The one you click on it says
really
normal candles. That's good. Now, the reason I asked, and the reason why Miles is saying
I know why you asked, and it's crazy
because you mentioned a second ago that you were saying like 500% profit to 5,000% profit, and those are the types of numbers that we usually hear when somebody's using Heiken Ashi candles. Because as you probably know, the way that those are tested, and because they're a smoothed out line, and because of the less volatility, you can actually get much better results. But it's not really well, it can be accurate, but the problem is that when you start using that to actually trade off of specifically, and like say the take profit and that sort of stuff, you can act off of it and say, hey, I'm going to trade off of this. But then when you try to apply it and try to put your take profit prices and lines on the real chart, you can't use the Heiken Ashi, because the Heiken Ashi will be off, and you'll end up, and so that's really what it halfway works, but it doesn't. You can only half trust it. And every time that I've seen a strategy tester with Heiken Ashi, it's always been just ludicrous.
When I first started, when I first started using them, I think like for the first few weeks, I was there were so many things that I didn't know, and I was like, wow, this thing is like 23,000%. I'm like, it sounds unrealistic, but then everyone was kind of hyping each other up. But there's a lot of guys that have been in the group for a while that kind of really understand the way David's coding works. And I realised that there's so many things you have to uncheck or check when you're doing a strategy tester, and really understand how it works. And it usually comes down from like, the best one, like 23,000 to like, 3,000 or something. It's usually a bit disappointing when you like uncheck one box and you see the reality of it. But
And the one other thing that I try to warn people about is it's one thing to want the bot to enter when the strategy tester enters, and you can kind of try to make it exit when the strategy tester exits, but the exits may not always be right, because once again, the reality of the price movement and everything, and it getting triggered. Sometimes TPSL gets triggered by the last price on the exchange, but it doesn't get triggered on TradingView, right? And that's just how that works. And so basically, long story short, what I'm saying is there are some people who will run the strategy on TradeLab, and then, or not even TradeLab, it could be 3 commas anywhere. I've talked to multiple people about this. They'll try to run a bot, and then they'll also try to run the strategy tester and be like, oh, well, I ran this bot an hour ago, and I'm looking at the strategy tester for an hour ago, and it says that it should have made profit, but the bot lost. And then they bring it up as if the bot's broken, and it's like, that's how that goes. Trying to compare it directly to the strategy tester is always usually a bad idea, right? Because you're gonna get disappointed. You're gonna get disappointed. In fact, a lot of times I've seen people, the times that they do make a lot, they'll make $300, and then they'll be like, "But hey, the strategy testers told me that I should have like lost $10," and it's like, there you go. I
think when you start to understand the way that it kind of calculates things and understands its many limitations, then I found it actually it is quite useful for a lot of things. I mean, I've got a lot of them set up where weirdly I seem to make more profit on Bybit than I do on the strategy tester. I still haven't worked out why. I still haven't got to the bottom of it. I think it's something to do with the way it calculates fees. But yeah, it's weird. For some reason, Bybit gives more profit than the strategy tester.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna probably get back to work here in just a little bit. We are working on trying to get those updates out, so we'll get that going. I'm hoping that we should be able to pull the trigger tomorrow. I'm hoping I make an announcement midday tomorrow, tell everybody it's coming, and then we work the better half of tomorrow evening to get it ported over. I do expect that there will be a very slight downtime. I'm projecting less than an hour, ideally less than 30 minutes. It should just be a blip. It really should. But we'll see, right? So I don't think we should be down for very long. And when we do, I'll be making a big announcement about it.
Well, you guys have been working so hard, so I'll say a prayer that it all goes well.
Thanks.
Right. Excited, man. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you all, for real.
Awesome. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, peace out.
So, cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Ciao.